Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us. We are actually going to do a Q&A today. This is going to be our second one that we've done since starting our YouTube channel. So several questions recently came in. Michael has those on our phone, so we're just going to go through those and see how many we can get through. So,
first one, favorite Christmas tradition?
I would have to say for Christmas tradition, since my earliest memories, one of the first things we would do on Christmas Day, my family would gather in a circle and my dad would turn to Luke chapter 2 in the Bible, and we would not just hear it, but we would sing it. My mom had actually made up a tune to go along with it. So we would sit in a circle before opening presents or anything like that. And we would sing the Christmas story. I would probably have to say that's one of my special memories.
For me, my favorite Christmas tradition, I think, is for us as a couple would be that we get an ornament from every trip we take together as a couple, and then we just write the year on the back of it. And then as we pull out our ornaments each year, we just talk about our memories from whatever state park we went to or whatever vacation we took. So that's one of my favorite memories. What is your favorite kind of cake or pie?
Am I going first again?
Yes.
I'm a cheesecake lover. I love cheesecake.
I was not really a pie lover growing up, but when I married into Brandon's family, I became a pie lover because his family does pie. Like his
My
mom
mom does make
is
amazing
the
pies.
best pie maker I've ever had. So
They are good.
strawberry, rhubarb, apple, berry. I am now a pie lover and I like all of them. So
They
yeah.
are good.
Yeah. Next up, what have you learned about the Lord recently?
That's a good one. I feel like there are times I learn something new, but so many times I'm relearning or being reminded of something that I have learned previously. And I feel like there's always just that need to be reminded of things. Most recently, it was a reminder again in Proverbs, and going over chapter 3, verses 5 and 6 are very familiar to a lot of people. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And someone brought to my attention a few years ago that to acknowledge the Lord in the Hebrew language actually means to know the Lord, to intimately know the Lord. Just backing up and looking at the verse in that context, in all your ways acknowledge or know the Lord and he will direct your paths. I feel like there's so many crossroads I reach where it's just like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know which way to go. And the Lord was just reminding, he's like, look at me, know me, let me show myself to you, get to know me better. And as my focus is on him, the direction kind of takes care of itself, and he leads me where to go. So you know what, my focus is to be on him and knowing him more, and he'll guide me. So that was something for me.
I think for me, we've been going through a series in Sunday school at our church, just talking about stewarding the things that God's given us, our finances, our time, our energy, our influence, just so many different aspects of life. And it's been very good for me, and very, a lot of things that sometimes I separate being normal daily life and spiritual things, and just realizing in a deeper way that God cares about all of those things. He cares about every single aspect of our life, and letting him be involved in every aspect of life, not just on Sundays or Wednesdays or when we're at church, but that he cares deeply about every area and every aspect. And I feel like I've grown a lot through this series, just learning that we are responsible for the time and the energy and the things that God's given us. We're told to be stewards over it, but just in an even bigger way, that God cares so much about those things and that he wants to be involved in everyday life.
Yeah.
Next up, favorite national park?
Oh man, am I going first?
Yes.
Okay. We've been to several national parks. We actually try to do that as our vacation. Several vacations we've done that over the years of being married. And, there's a lot of national parks are just fun for us. Mm-hmm. But I guess our honeymoon was the first one we did.
I want to go back there so bad.
We went to Yellowstone for our honeymoon, first part of it. And it was such a cool experience seeing, the wild bison out there, the different wildlife, but the bison especially being so large. And making the long drive to Old Faithful, we were like 3 hours from it. And so
the speed limit was so slow.
Right. But anyway, I really enjoyed Yellowstone and getting to see Old Faithful. That was a fun memory.
Next up, how often do you restock your store blankets? I try to restock every week and a half as soon as I have fabric come in. So I have fabric shipments that come to the house usually every, 10 to 14 days. And so as soon as the fabric comes in, I try to sew and restock. So usually at least twice a month, I have all of the colors available again. Have you ever recreated your honeymoon? I remember you did some fun, exciting things.
We haven't redone our honeymoon. Technically, we went out to Yellowstone in Wyoming for our honeymoon. And when we went to South Dakota, we found out that there was a location in Wyoming that we didn't get to see before. And we're like, hey, we should try to do that while we're here. So we went back to Wyoming in 2020. Is that when we were out there?
Yeah.
And it's called like Devil's Tower. I mean, we didn't get to see that the first time we were there. And so that was an experience, a very cool experience. So I guess we didn't redo our honeymoon, but we went back to the state where we honeymooned. So that was fun.
I desperately want to redo our honeymoon though and go to Montana. So the first half of our honeymoon was in Wyoming and the second half was in Montana. And I want to go back because when we honeymooned there in 2015, there was so much smoke from the wildfires in Canada and Washington that you couldn't see the Rockies. It was still beautiful. We got a lot of photos, but you couldn't see the depth of the mountains and the high peak. Yeah. So I would love to go back to Glacier.
Yeah. It was cool though. While we were in Wyoming the second time, we got to see, I think it's the fastest animal in the country.
Oh, that's right.
The pronghorn. We were just driving down this country road, and it happened that this pronghorn was next to the road, and he was running away from us, but there was this wire fence along the road, so he couldn't get away. So he just started charging down, and we drove alongside him for a ways.
I was just trying to get pictures.
This was several yards, and we had our cameras. We were filming this thing. It was a cool thing to see the fastest animal in the country running right by your car. Was pretty cool.
That was fun. Yes. Next up, advice for newly married couples.
Ooh, can I go first on this one?
Wow, I love all the wedding questions. Our anniversary is this week, so I'm just, sentimental about all the things. I guess just enjoy every day, like every single moment. Read your Bible together, pray together, enjoy the little things because time goes by so fast. People used to tell us that when we were newly married, and it didn't seem like it because we had waited so long and engagement seemed it was short, but it felt so long until we could finally get married. And time really does go by so quickly. And just enjoying all of the little things, the drives, the walks, the talks, just get closer and have fun.
One thing that comes to my mind for this question is maybe having a dull edge on your expectations and not taking those, with the point into your spouse, I think is really crucial because, we understand how we were raised and, so forth, and it just makes sense to us that way. But learning to see a situation from someone else's perspective, it doesn't have to be my way or the highway, but how can we work together through whatever it is that we encounter? And, that's not always easy.
No.
It's often difficult, but it's always rewarding, if you can reach the other side together. So.
Next up, struggling with infertility, my faith is dwindling. How can I keep it strong? First, I'm really sorry. It is really a tough journey. There were dozens of these comments that came through from different people who are struggling, and I wish there was something easy to say, but it is a roller coaster of ups and downs, and I'm sorry for what you're walking through, but God is so faithful, and there are hard days, there are tearful days, but in the process of the pain, I feel like God has really met us every step of the way. And for me, one of the things that really helps is listening to Christian music to refocus on who God is, to get my focus a little more on eternal things, because the heaviness and the weight of not being a mother can be sometimes just too much if it's all consuming in my mind. So that has been a a very helpful, just practical thing. Memorizing and meditating on scripture has been very helpful. Another thing that's been really just brought a lot of joy to me in the midst of pain is nieces and nephews. My sisters have been so gracious and letting us have play dates and have them over, and babysitting when they go on little getaways or date nights. And it has been so healing for me. And at different phases, I know for different people, that is something that's painful and not healing. But for me personally, it has been a tremendous gift to have time with them, to go to the zoo, to experience things with children that I wouldn't otherwise. So that's just a few things that are just practical things that have helped. But as far as the faith aspect, I think really just being open and raw and telling God how I'm feeling and realizing that that's okay. No matter how painful or hard or hurtful it is, just verbalizing that to Him and asking Him to reveal Himself and to be a comfort, to give guidance, to do something to show that He cares. And it seems like this happens frequent, but when I do pray and ask, He does allow something to happen. And it's not always something huge. Sometimes it's a rainbow after a storm. Sometimes it's a beautiful sunset. Sometimes it's a text from a friend. But it's a little something that God uses to remind me that He cares and that I'm not alone. Learning to thank God, and that doesn't mean not still seek and pray for children, but finding that balance of gratitude and request.
The reality is we're never beyond the need for grace. You know, grace is something that God gives us and in many ways sustains us in hard times and hard things. At least in this life, the hurt is not gone, but He gives us something to sustain through it and helps us, strengthens us, encourages us to have faith that He is working all things for our good, for His glory, but we're never beyond the need for that grace.
And I think, just the word faith in the question, that really it is trusting something that we can't see and something that we don't understand. And it requires faith. It's not something that we may ever understand on this side of eternity, but without faith, without knowing God loves us and believing that He is going to do what is best, I honestly don't know where we would be. Next up, favorite gospel group, bonus points for a favorite song. Favorite group right now would be the Collingsworth family, and favorite song would be Redeemer of the Rain. Oh, it's my favorite song. It reminds me every time I listen to it that God redeems every situation, and even if we don't understand what He's doing something. Michael, I love your dresses and modest style. Where do you get your clothes from? That is so very kind. Thank you. I have dresses from an assortment of places. Several are from my sister's boutique, Bates Sisters Boutique. I have several that I really love from Mountain Air Boutique. She's a friend of mine, and she designs all of her dresses and has releases through the different seasons. So I love her style and her quality. Here recently, I've gotten a lot of dresses from Shein. So this was from there. I don't know much about the company, but they're cheap and they wash well. So I've gotten probably half a dozen from there. There were also a couple questions asking about my layering and undershirts, and all of them are from Half Tea. They're my favorite company because they're just Half Tea, they're half of a tank, so they don't add a lot of bulk and they're not hot in the summer. So yeah, that's about it for clothing. I guess you can't help on this question.
All you.
Next up, did you ever question if you wanted to remain in the faith you were raised with?
I am very appreciative of how I was raised and the faith that my parents had. But what I have now is not because my parents had it. It's because I have tasted and experienced God for myself. And so, anyway, I don't know if that directly answers the question.
In my childhood, I feel like I experienced who God was. I saw Him do so much for my family, for me personally.
And sometimes you need to to share those stories because they are pretty amazing. But
It is. I feel like we prayed together as a family for our needs, and we watched God do things that are supernatural. They are beyond human explanation. And I was drawn to know God in a personal way. And at 15, I surrendered my life and asked God to be the Lord of my life. And I embraced Christianity fully, but it wasn't because I was raised that way. I'm sure that did influence me, but it was because I saw God move and I began to know God, and I came to know him on a personal level. It's not something that I personally have ever doubted, because I think from such a young age, I knew him in such a real way that there was no other option. He says of himself, there is none besides him. Mm-hmm. Next up, did Judd and Jeb ever spend the night with you guys at your house? I know they come for the day. We have Judd and Jeb over every chance we get. They have a really special place in our heart, and we love them to death. As they get older, they do have more activities and responsibilities, piano lessons and, sports and things. So they don't spend the night as much as they used to, but we definitely snag them every chance we get. And they've gotten to where they do a few more road trips with us, going to Poppleville and Mama Jane's. So there's overnights there more than just here at our house. But yeah, every chance we get, we do overnights and stay up way too late and watch movies and eat popcorn. Next up, must-dos in Tennessee for first anniversary trip in April. This one's fun. I love downtown Market Square. They have a farmer's market through all of summer.
Downtown Knoxville.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's only $5 if you want to go up in the Sun Sphere. And you can just go up and look around. It's a super short tour, but it's kind of fun to be up and overlook the whole city. Cades Cove. Mm-hmm. We see wildlife every single time we go. It's free.
The black bears.
Yes.
It's always fun to see those.
They're out mostly in the spring and in the fall. So in April, you have a pretty good chance of seeing some moms and some cubs. If you have a little more money in your budget, Dollywood. Dollywood is a dream. I love it. My favorite two rides are the Wild Eagle and the Barnstormer. What else?
Now, in relation to this question, we're hoping to do a YouTube video in the near future on things to do if you're in the area. So
we've had so many questions from you guys about our favorite things. So I'm working on a list right now of the things and marking with them like what their budgets are, so you can plan accordingly with your family. So, higher budgets, medium budgets, or looking for free things. So hopefully that'll be really soon. Next up, do you babysit your nieces and nephews a lot? Yes, every single chance we get. They have been such a highlight to us, and being back in Tennessee and getting to be with them has just been such a joy. Oh, I get happy just thinking about them. I love this kid so much. How is Papa Bill doing and Mama Jane? Thank you for asking. This really means so much. We love our grandparents, and it just means a lot that you care. They're doing well. I think it's in a season where it's kind of hard to say exactly how things are because it just changes from day to day. But there's still a lot of family visits to go and hang out because he is a people person and he loves people. Mama Jane is doing well. She's talked to her on the phone. It's just a highlight, and counting down the days till our next visit. How's fertility going? I pray all the time for you to get your miracle baby. First off, thank you. That it really means a lot. So many of you commented this, and I saved this one for last because it's always hard to talk about, and it's hard to not cry because it is it's still a challenge. It's still a longing. But these comments mean so much, just knowing that you guys are praying for us. We're still taking it a day at a time.
The time may very well come where adoption, could happen, or, the baby could come, but it's just like we're not pushing those things. We're not pushing those options away, but we don't want to get in God's way either. And so if he has something more of a priority for us than we have for ourselves, we do want to be sensitive to that. And so again, we just need God's wisdom. It's like, God, here we are. What do you want now? And as we rest in him and surrender to what he wants us to do now, he really gives us grace for the next step. And so in that, I think there is a peace. It's not an elimination of pain, but there is a peace. And it takes faith just to take the next step. But he's proving himself faithful in those next steps.
And I think we both feel so many of the prayers from you guys and the messages in the comments. And
thank you.
On the hard days, I think there's times like we can just sense there are people lifting us up to the Lord and praying for us on our behalf. So thank you. And thank you for the encouragement.
Thank you so much for those of you who are still watching. I know we covered a lot of questions in this video, but we really appreciate your interest in asking these things. We hope to do more of these in the future, so if your questions didn't get answered, hopefully we can address those in future Q&As. But again, thank you for sharing this time with us, and we hope to see you in the future.